They first said that you want to do your aura around you. And so I started doing like a bluish color because I like blue. But then I ended up making it sort of like a pastel rainbow because I like the other colors too. So I didn't want to just stick with blue. And then depending on my mood, it could be many different colors that come out. The motto that I've chosen, or the slogan, is gratitude, or so I put down gratitude, but it's sort of live in gratitude or live with gratitude, because of all the people that have come before me, who've paved the way, those that are in my family and friends, and those that I don't even know, and those that now are doing things that enable me to live a good life, even people I don't know. The things closest to my heart are, I think, first of all, my kids and the family. And so what I've made a heart, and I've put my two kids, pictures of my two kids, and actually put down sort of pictures when they were very young, like toddler age almost. I think partly because to me, they're always going to be my babies. I worked from the bottom portion up. So the bottom portion is where I've been, but actually not me physically immigrating here, because I'm actually a third generation. And my ancestors came from Japan. So it's my great-grandfather who came over, and my grandfather and grandmothers. I've drawn a torii gate that symbolized Japan. And the other part, I've put down a map of Mexico. And the map of Mexico is because one of my grandfathers, when he was immigrating here, the United States closed its doors to Japanese immigrants. So he's a little bit late, so he couldn't get off the boat legally in the United States. So he took a boat to Mexico. And from Mexico, he got off and crossed the border illegally. So he's an illegal immigrant crossing over from Mexico. And then also part of my history is the internment camps during World War II, because all of my family, it doesn't matter what side you look at, everyone went to the camps. And I was born after the camp. And when my mother and father were in camp, they didn't know each other. The families didn't know each other at all. And they were in different camps. But during the war, when the United States decided to draft eligible young men into the Army because they weren't getting enough volunteers, my father was one of the draft resistors. So he originally pledged loyalty to the United States, but when they started the draft, he was one of the young men who decided it wasn't right, and he resisted the draft. My mother's two older brothers did the same thing in a different camp. So these draft resistors now were gathered up and sent to a higher security camp. And that's where those two met. So my father and his brother and my mom's two brothers met in the high security camp in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and they became fast friends. After the war, neither families knew what to do because they couldn't go back. There was nothing there for them where they came from.
Where were they from?
My mom's family was from Arroyo Grande along the coast, Central Coast. And my dad's family was from Imperial Valley. So I don't think these two families would have ever met, and they still didn't meet in camp, but it's because they're both draft resistors. The brothers got to be friends. So after the war, my brother's family found work in the Central Valley in Fresno, and they corresponded with my mom's family and asked them what they were doing. Well, it was hard to get work, so they said, "Come join us. We're picking grapes. You know, it's supposed to be good money." And so my mom's family joined them in Fresno. It wasn't so good. Yes. And so they heard news that some of their other friends were leasing land closer to San Jose, someplace in Morgan Hill, to grow strawberries. And so those two families picked up again and moved to Morgan Hill area to plant strawberries. And it's at that time, when they moved to Morgan Hill, that my mom met my dad, because she had been in LA working as like a housekeeper after the war. So if it weren't for going to camp, and if he wasn't a draft resistor and her brothers weren't draft resistors, these two would have never met. So, you know, some good things come out of it, even though it's a bad situation. Now, my grandfather, my mother's father, did try to commit suicide in camp. And this is a story that the family just kept secret. It was just so horrifying for them. But, so the story never came out. When they were looking for stories for redress, they didn't say anything. It's one of those stories that they just kept secret. And it's only like 3 years ago, just before my mom died, that she was telling me this when I was with her by ourselves. And so, anyway, it's something that's always been sort of weighing on her. Yeah, whenever she thinks of camp, it's happy days, but then it's sad times too. From the bottom, then you progress up, and then I've got pictures of my family and relatives, friends, and other faces that I don't know. I just cut them out from the internet, because these are all people that are helping me part of my life, whether I know them or not. And that's part of the gratitude. And then I've got a picture of my father, and because the instructions were to maybe think of somebody who is an inspiration, or someone you look up to, and that's my dad. And so going up, then I've got my hands sort of up in the air, and I decided to put the world, or the earth, and a dove on there. So the symbolism for me is we all have the future of the world in our hands, and also hope for the world and peace, whether it's environmental or humanity. And then off to the sides, I've got pictures of trees and a lake, because I like nature. Picture of a horse, because I like horses. And, picture of the Milky Way, or the universe, because we're all part of this grand universe.